Live at 5 here on WHAS 11 News. Here's what we can tell you for sure tonight as we get ready for a strong blast of winter weather. No accumulating snow for this weekend, but you need to be prepared for very high wind, dangerous wind chill factors, and we need to take care of each other, folks. Pets need to be indoors. Keep an eye on your neighbors. It's going to be with us the next few days. Thank you for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. Meteorologist Colleen Peterson is here with the most up-to-date forecast. And Colleen, this is some seriously cold air that's coming in. So what can you tell us about the wind and the impact?
Yeah, that's going to be our main focus regardless of how much snow we get the start of next week. It is 100% going to be very cold to a point where it might be dangerous, especially for some animals out there, barn animals as well. Definitely want to put the straw in the barns. Right now we are tracking that first system that's passing through as we speak, bringing us a lot of wind as well as widespread rain that's moving through the metro right now. It's been pretty consistent since 9 o'clock. This is that last spurt of rain moving through Jefferson County. It will start to dry out after the shower moves through. So some downpours from Shepherdsville up to Charlestown right around the metro. We are also gusting up to 43 miles per hour right now, and it is possible to get gusts as high as 50. So we're going to continue to track that for you with a high wind warning in effect. So if you're heading out on the roads, maybe heading home from work, keep 2 hands on the steering wheel. The roads are wet and we are gusting. The big focus is that Arctic blast starting Saturday afternoon will be below freezing through Wednesday afternoon. This is our temperatures. In fact, -8 in Chicago is probably going to feel like -20. For us here, we have wind chills below 0 for multiple mornings in a row. We are focusing on that snow forecast for you. Monday into Tuesday, those are our chances of maybe seeing some snow out there. I will show you what that update is and what we could potentially see here in Louisville coming up. Connie, Doug.
Colleen, thank you. A lot of helpful information to pass along to you here tonight. Temperatures well below freezing, dangerously strong winds, and possibly some snow after the weekend. The head of Louisville National Weather Service office says with the heavy rain as well, this storm is serving up nearly everything.
Yeah, from emergency shelters to school preparations today, the city, along with the National Weather Service, laid out their winter plan.
We got a high wind warning up everywhere. It's for this afternoon. Prime time, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Whole area.
We are bringing you team coverage today from Ian Hardwick and photojournalist Jessica Farley and Alyssa Newton as they go from Louisville to LaGrange to see winter preparations, big and small.
As we look ahead to our first taste of major winter weather, those cold temperatures are going to be affecting everyone. Whether you're trying to prepare your own home, if you're the city trying to prepare the streets, or if you're one of the people who have to live on them.
Local nonprofit SOS donates hygiene and medical supplies to Arthur Street Hotel. It's a place where homeless people live, but they need more help to keep people still living on the street alive.
Everything is going to be wet, then it's going to freeze, then it's going down to real field temperatures of somewhere in the negative numbers. All right, that's a recipe for a human disaster.
Donnie Green would know.
That's the bottom line.
As part of his outreach work, he's preparing to give out sterno, catering candles, so people living in tents have warmth.
And we realize there's a danger associated with it, but there is a larger danger to the number of people who would freeze to death as opposed to the tent fires.
COLD all week long. Dangerously cold. If we get a little snow, it'll be colder.
The forecast from our National Weather Service is sure the coming days are frigid. And Louisville Fire Department wants people to be careful with heating.
Do not plug your space heaters into extension cords or power strips. Make sure your space heaters are plugged in to the wall outlet on its own.
They also want you to turn them off if you're leaving the room and keep them away from anything flammable. Those heaters are the second leading cause of home fires here. Tuesday and Wednesday nights are the ones to watch out for. With temperatures so low, it's important to bring pets in.
Things will freeze, drip. That's what I always say. If you get down to 0 degrees, I drip my water. People say that's a lot of water. I don't want my pipes frozen, do you?
If you want to keep your water running, listen to Andrew Manning with Backup Plumbing.
It doesn't have to be a lot. We just want a steady stream. That should be plenty. If you have any outside faucets, you can use these covers and attach them to the faucet, pull them tight so that they stay against the outside wall. And that can also protect you from having problems down the road. Do the small stuff now. Do your best to not call a plumber.
Now it's important to remember this is serious.
People die in this weather.
Because what we have now will freeze. Ian Hardwick, WHAS 11, on your side.
I'd almost like, I'd rather have snow than the wind chills than these strong winds. How about you?
I know you've said that. I don't love driving in it, but I agree. I hate when the wind is so bitterly cold.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jefferson County schools are also prepared for the weather.
Spokesperson Carolyn Callahan today at that news conference reminding parents that they have 10 NTI days they can use, so they won't be canceling school for typical snow days.
We do plan to use NTI, non-traditional instruction days, as much as possible during inclement weather this year. So what does that mean? It means that those days are not snow days. It's not the typical snow day that you have to make up then in the summer. They're NTI days, so students will be doing work during those days.
Work from home. According to the district, students were sent home with the Chromebooks and in the NTI packets. As for the school buildings, Callahan says crews are doing daily checks of the facilities to check for burst pipes or power outages. The district itself has 22 trucks with salt spreaders and plows. They're ready to go. Kids are off already Monday for the holiday, but for Tuesday, JCPS says they will notify families by 5 in the morning Tuesday if they'll be staying home for an NTI day.
And if it's too cold for us, it is definitely too cold for your pets. According to the mayor, Louisville Animal Services is asking everyone to bring their pets inside if possible. If you absolutely need to keep them outside, you can pick up some free straw from the city. It's available while supplies last from noon until 4 tomorrow at the Animal Care Complex. That's on Newburgh Road. Now, if pets are left outside without shelter, the mayor asks that you please call Animal Control if you see them. Of course, when it comes to the weather, we'll bring you all the important updates on air and on the free WHAS11 News app. It's also where you'll get alerts on school delays and closings.
Some more healthy reminders for you about this cold. Norton Healthcare today warning of the health impacts that cold weather can have on you, and very quickly, in addition to a surge in winter illnesses.
Yeah, we've learned 2 Kentucky children have died from respiratory viruses so far this winter. The state's Cabinet for Health and Family Services says that 1 child died from the flu and the other from COVID-19. They say neither was vaccinated against the virus they had. Respiratory illnesses like the flu, COVID, and RSV have been on the rise this season. The CDC recommends everyone 6 months and older should get the annual flu and COVID vaccines. Norton says their ERs and urgent care centers have seen very high levels of patients, especially children. They recommend calling your primary care doctor before heading to the urgent care.
Now, as for the extreme cold, and we're going to see it, we know kids love to play in the snow. Who doesn't? But when it feels like single digits, you really need to keep an eye on how long you spend outside. The time is so important. Norton Healthcare doctors are warning of the potential for hypothermia over the next week, and that's when your body loses heat faster than it can produce heat, and your temperature drops to 95. Your body temperature drops to 95 or below. And if you have to be outside, dress in layers, keep your fingers, toes, and ears covered because they get cold a lot faster.
With children specifically, I think about how much more vulnerable they are to extremes in temperature, and that's because of the proportion of their body that their skin makes up. So they are more likely to lose either heat across their skin, which makes them more vulnerable to colder temperatures.
And the start of 2024 has been met with a lot of respiratory illnesses being called a triple threat. Kentucky is not alone in reporting high or very high levels of the flu, COVID, and RSV.
Well, since the holidays, the CDC has been tracking these high levels of respiratory illnesses now being seen in at least 35 states. Here's ABC's Melissa Adan reporting from Los Angeles.
While the winter holidays may be behind us, a triple threat in respiratory illnesses remain. New CDC data is tracking at least 35 states experiencing high or very high levels of respiratory illnesses, with the South reporting the highest levels. These spikes can strain emergency rooms, and COVID hospitalizations are still slightly growing week by week for the last 2 months, with some slowing to flu hospitalizations.
What's really critical right now is that the world understands that COVID, the public health risk from COVID remains high, and this is globally.
And it's not just in the U.S. Researchers at the World Health Organization say that the actual circulation of COVID around the globe is anywhere between 2 and 19 times higher than what is being reported. This due to testing found in wastewater.
While we're not in the crisis, we're not seeing the levels of impact that we saw in the peak of the pandemic in 2021, 2022, and even early 2023. COVID is still a global health threat, and it's causing far too much burden when we can prevent it.
Cases of RSV are still on the rise in many parts of the country. It is starting to drop in some parts, but infants and children under 4 are hospitalized with RSV more than any other age group, which is why doctors recommend RSV vaccines for babies under 8 months, pregnant women, and adults who are 60 years or older. As for vaccination rates, they are lagging. According to the CDC, only 19% of adults have gotten an update in their COVID vaccine this year, and nearly 47% of adults have gotten their flu shot. This as doctors urge people to stay up to date with their vaccines. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
We are learning more about the man who was killed when a suspect speeding away from a traffic stop slammed into his car. Russell Barnett Jr. was driving in the Portland neighborhood Wednesday night when that crash happened. Police say 26-year-old Coley Stotts is now charged with his murder. Alexis Jones and photojournalist Emma Gefter spoke with Barnett's loved ones.
Police say Barnett was at the intersection of 35th and Bank Streets when he was struck by a car Wednesday. He later died in the hospital. Now his family, too devastated to talk on camera, wants the world to know who he was. A great person, would help anyone who needed it, and adored his family. That's how Jasmine Barnett Thurman described her uncle in a statement on behalf of loved ones. 54-year-old Russell Barnett Jr. was killed Wednesday night after LMPD says this man, Coley Stotts, fled from officers. Police say Coley was driving a stolen car from Indianapolis when they tried to pull him over at 33rd and Flance. They say he sped off when officers turned on their sirens. Then he drove onto 35th and Bank Streets and crashed into Barnett's car. Stotts appeared in court Friday. A county prosecutor says he's no stranger to criminal behavior.
He's got prior convictions for fleeing second, wanton endangerment second, and multiple convictions for convicted felon possession of a handgun.
Similar to the charges he now faces, prompting a judge to set his bond to a high amount.
It's going to be $1 million.
Stotts is scheduled to return to court later this month. In the meantime, Barnett's loved ones are reminding the public LMPD isn't to blame. They say if police were allowed to do what they were supposed to do, a tragedy like Barnett's wouldn't have happened. In Louisville, Alexis Jones, WHAS11 on your side.
And the suspect is scheduled to be back in court January 22nd.
And more top stories here tonight at 5. An unsolved case from Carroll County, Kentucky, cracked using new DNA technology. In 1980, human remains were found on the Indiana and Kentucky sides of the Ohio River. And today, we finally know who it is. In September of 1980, skeletal remains were found in Switzerland County, Indiana. That's less than an hour and a half northeast of Louisville. And then just a few months later, more remains were discovered in Carroll County, Kentucky, right along the Ohio River. At the same time, authorities didn't realize the remains were from the same person. In 2005, a DNA test told investigators they were looking for the identity of the same man, but they still couldn't identify him. Kentucky State Police sent that DNA to a Texas lab where they built a genetic map of the man. And from there, KSP used it to find potential family members. As a result, 43 years later, they've identified the missing man as Kenneth Linville. Now they will try to determine the cause of his death.